I introduce the current Calvert Hall coach, fellow who played his football at Cardinal Gibbons. His dad was an outstanding tackle. Whenever Hargadon talked about his great teams, he always talked about, when we had Knopp, Eckel, and Jim Gary, Louis Miller, those fellas. Well, Lou Eckel's son, Lou Jr., has done a pretty good job himself. Outstanding player. He played on the Gibbons team. He played against the Calvert Hall team that won the famous field goal game in 1969, which every Don remembers. We were doing that game on the radio, incidentally, when the guy, Phil Marsiglia, kicked the field goal. And I remember, is Phil here? Where's Phil Marsiglia? Stand up, Phil. On about the 25-yard line, and they send in the second-string quarterback to hold the ball at the 32. It's a tie game, 14-14, and I remember saying on the radio, there's no way this kid can kick the ball this far. I mean, they just don't do it in the MSA with 42-yard field goals. And before I had the words out of my mouth, the ball's on its way to the north end of the stadium, right straight through the uprights. Bill is a druggist right now, right, Bill? A druggist in Baltimore, and a soft-spoken guy who's got more publicity out of that field goal than Steve Meyer got out when he tied the Giants in 1958. Anyway, this is an introduction of Lou Eckel. Lou went to Juniata College. I remember one time a guy reading the scores on Saturday afternoon, Juniata College. He says Moravian 12, Juanita 6. He didn't play like Juanita, nor do his teams. He coached 7 years at Gibbons and was AD there for 4 years. Has done a real good job in the overall athletic picture at Calvert Hall. They present the current Calvert Hall coach, Lou Eckel Jr.
I basically told Tom that I wasn't going to talk tonight except for just a couple of seconds because the tradition I have will start on Thursday and I can tell stories next year. But I would like to take time out to recognize the person that is the influence in my life, my dad. And I'd like to present him with a plaque with this year's team's emblem that was designed by Mel Phillips. Dad? The plaque just reads, "Thanks, Dad, for always being there. With love, your son, Lou." Now I have to tell you who he's rooting for on Thanksgiving. Thanks, everybody. Remember that the game is at the stadium this year, so it won't be any problem getting any tickets.
Thank you, Lou. Now the Loyola present coach. Fellow's been there since 1967 as the head football coach. This is his 27th Loyola Calvert Hall game. He played, of course, for Hargadon in the early 1950s. A graduate of the class of 1952. He went on to Bucknell, where he was a good college football player, and did some things. He and George Young took a trip on a steamer to Europe the following year. Football wasn't their whole life. I guess they talked an awful lot about it and what the future might bring for both of them as they took that trip in the mid-1950s, I guess it was. Joe went on to coach with George on the staff at City College, coaching football and also lacrosse over at City. Came to Loyola, has been an outstanding member of the faculty for all those years, and a fine football coach since 1967. In his 28th Calvert Hall Loyola game as a coach, and probably his 30th overall, the Loyola coach, Joe Broom.
What I have been noticing as I'm sitting up here looking out is that no one's getting very thirsty, and all of you are very anxious to hear some more speeches. since I've been here 28 years, it's only going to take me about 2 hours and 30 minutes to complete all the ideas that I have to say, all the memories that I have. And then when I get finished that, I want to introduce all my assistant coaches who are sitting over here. Each one of them is going to speak for 10 minutes. And by that time, probably all the bartenders will be on their way home. I must say that I could, in all honesty, tell you many, many stories about what the Loyola Calvert Hall game means to me. I remember vividly 56-14. I remember McPherson. I remember all that, and I've got some other memories that I can tell you about later on. But mostly what I remember, as many of the coaches here tonight have said, is I remember my father taking me to my first Calvert Hall Loyola game, which happened to be at Homewood. And I remember my father introducing me to Bobby Williams, who happened to be a member of my parish, and how awed I was to meet somebody who played football in high school. And I could go on and on. But as everyone has said here this evening, what a great thing we have going, how many connections we can make with the past, how it makes our lives more meaningful, how it makes us look forward to the future, how it keeps us going from day to day. And while it's just a game, it certainly is a game that for all of us adds significance to our lives, gives us purpose, and I hope we'll get together again in 50 more years. And thank you very much for being here this evening.
On my list of notes here, it says, before introducing this man, introduce the famous trio from the '69 field goal team. Well, Vince already introduced Phil Marsiglio. The holder was Phil Popovic. The snapper was Bruce Wills. Please stand up, all three. They're all the same standard. Have another drink. This butt's for you. This next coach is being presented to you last because we wanted to have Coach Dave Shannon to hear what Joe had to say, and Dave told us that he would be arriving late from a show that he performs in. Joe Carlos coached at the Hall from '63 to '73, head coach '67 to '73. Before coming to Calvert Hall, he coached Southern High, only lost one game in 3 years. 3 sons that play. Hey, you don't need all this, you know. Come on, Joe. Joe Carlos.
How many men here played for me? Raise your hand. Regardless of how old you get, you always listen to your coach. And at the count of 3, in unison, I want you all to say, I know nothing. And on the signal, you'll repeat it a little louder, and the 3rd time, you'll yell it out. I know nothing at the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I know nothing!
Louder.
I know nothing!
Yell it out.
I know nothing!
Good. I've been away a long time, and I just wanted to be sure I was in the right place. I wanted to say a few words about Tom Bateman. Tom Bateman won my respect and admiration when he was a senior, and It was Fred Kern's first year as coach. And he was testing his players in a 40-yard dash. It was in June in shorts. And for some unknown reason, before Tom was scheduled to run, he started to hemorrhage at the nose. It was a freak type thing. He's bleeding profusely. And he didn't take time out to take care of it. Someone encouraged him to. He wanted to run the 40-yard dash and get timed in the 40, and he did. And I don't know if you know this about Tom, but his father was a JV coach at Calvert Hall, and he passed away when Tom was a boy. And all Tom wanted in life was two things: to coach at Calvert Hall, like his father did, to coach in some capacity, and to teach at Calvert Hall. And putting this together, first of all, you have to be a little crazy to do it. Now, Tom worked for me for 7 years, and I could assure you he qualifies. He is insane. And to appreciate Tom, you really have to know him. And look beyond what comes across, beyond the bluntness. He's a little blunt, etc. He's a perfectionist. He's a perfectionist. I often thought that if he lived 2,000 years ago and he attended the Sermon on the Mount, he would tell Jesus Christ to go home and rewrite the speech. And I want to say this, I'm hopeful that Calvert Hall makes use of Tom Bateman in the football program, because he is just a super scout. He did an incredible job of scouting. And in 1968, our 1968 team had upset Poly, who was so much bigger and so much stronger. We did it with a field goal. I promised Joe Green I would not say field goal. I broke my word, I'm sorry. It was mainly due to Tom Bateman's scouting report. And I want Tom to know how grateful I am to him for his loyalty and the work he did. He didn't get paid. He didn't get paid. He coached for nothing. I wanted to mention this little story to you. It's a true experience. Now, you've never heard this before because I never told it before. I never had the right form. This is the right form. I know the coaches are going to appreciate this. And it's a true story, and I know all of your friends are going to say, you're pulling our leg again, it never happened, but I'm telling you it did happen. In fact, I'll give you the names. Now, we have to go back a while. I was a head coach at Palmyra High School. I became a varsity coach at a young age at 25. It was my third year. And I was always lucky as a coach. And this is the truth. No attempt to be humble. I always had good players. I always had good material, and I always had good help, good assistance. And it was my third year, and if there's such a thing as a guardian angel, and I happen to believe in guardian angels, this football team had a guardian angel, because it was the one year where I wasn't blessed with great material. I always had good material. But we were very fortunate. We won games. If I told you about them, you wouldn't dream, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. We had all kinds of situations, including a good team that had 4 people declared ineligible before the game started, or the day before. Another game, a team had us on the ropes. They were on our 5-yard line in the 4th quarter. Couldn't explain it. The halfback going around and tripped, fumbled. Dave Wiedemann, who's presently the head coach of basketball at Haddonfield High School in New Jersey, picked up the ball and ran 95 yards for a touchdown. In New Jersey, it's like pro rules. You could pick up a fumble and run with it. But we're playing this game against Morristown. Now, Morristown had the speed of the city. When George Young coached, he had some fast teams. And they were big as Poly. And we were mediocre at best. We didn't have the usual standout players that I had. And I had one kid, the big Irish kid, and you just had to like this kid. He was the nicest kid in the world. His name was Jim Lilly. And every one of these coaches, without exception, on both sides, they all have a strength. It could be offense, it could be defense, it could be organization, it could be personnel, choosing the right people for the right position. Everyone has a strength, and so do I. And I'd like to tell you how my main strength backfired. I couldn't motivate this kid. I tried for 3 years. I tried everything possible. The rest of the kids were easy to motivate. But Jim Lilly was tough. He was a good student with a great sense of humor. He'd walk around smiling all day long, and it's great to smile, but you don't smile when your opponent scored a touchdown. I caught him smiling when our opponent scored a touchdown. I actually forbid him to ever smile in my presence again. And to make matters worse, he was going out with this girl from a nearby, Calvert was a public school. There was a Catholic school nearby, girls' school. He was going out with this girl, and the seniors in this class, most of them would go into the convent and become nuns. She wasn't one of them. She was a very well person. And he thought he was suffering from a delusion. He was in love with her. And that made matters worse. And we're playing against Morristown, and I knew their tackle would line up right on Jimmy. And you heard of this guy, Dave Robinson, Penn State, at least you people over 35 or 40 heard of him. Right. Green Bay Packers was an all-pro linebacker. That's who we had to play against. And Robinson was in high school at that time it was considered pretty big. He was about 6'2", 230. He was agile, he was very quick. He was nasty, the guy should have been in jail. But that's who we had to play against. So I thought I'd take one last shot and try to motivate him. We played our games on a Saturday. And I started on a Tuesday, going over what enthusiasm was. It derived from the Greek words antheos, meaning God within you. And we went into all of that. And on a Saturday morning, I decided we'd go to the church. The church was open because a lot of kids went to confession on Saturday, and we would pray. And I told Jimmy, you pray for the strength. I'm going to pray with you to do your best, not only in this football game, but every day of your life. And we went down on our knees. Jimmy was praying for strength of character. I was praying Robinson won't kill him. And we went into the locker room. Now, you men remember, you men who played for me, the first page in the playbook was a sign I had in the locker room at that time, and I always used that. And what the sign said was, fight on, my merry men. I'm a little wounded, but I am not slain. I shall lay down and bleed a while. Then I'll rise and fight again. And Jimmy was Irish, and I pointed to the sign, and I said, Jimmy, you've seen this for the last 3 years. Do you know who said that? He said, no. I said, let me tell you. And this was the truth. It was said by an Irish captain during the Civil War in Ireland, of course, several centuries back. And I said, Jimmy, imagine the courage of this guy. He was dying. He was bleeding to death. And what did he say? He told his men to fight on. He just wanted to lay down and bleed a while. And then he'd rise and fight again. And I said, that same Irish blood flows through your veins. The Irish are fighters. Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. Have you ever heard of a football, a major college? The nickname would be taken from a nationality? Have you ever heard of the Fighting Scandinavians or the Fighting Jews? And the Irish are fighters. Irish don't, you can't beat an Irishman. They'll keep getting up. They'll never quit. I said, not only that, Jimmy, your friends are at the game. I even went back to John L. Sullivan and Gentleman Jim Corbett. I said, your friends are at the game, your parents are at the game, your classmates all rooting for you, your girlfriend's at the game, everybody's at the game. And in the final, I said, Jimmy, when you think about it, in the final analysis, it's your determination against Robinson's determination. Your will to win against his will to win. Your courage against his courage. Your quickness against his quickness. And yes, your manhood against his manhood. And I finally saw the signs of a kid that was ready to play football. His eyes widened. He started to salivate a little at the mouth. He took me in his arms, his big tackle, hugged me. He kissed me on the cheek. For a second, I thought my little talk had turned him gay. And he ran out on the field. He warmed up with the other guards and tackles. They broke up into groups. And he was screaming like a wild beast. You could hear him all over the stadium. He's beating up on his own teammates. And I was feeling very good. And the superintendent of schools was there, and he never said much. And he was excited. Everyone was excited. He was quoting famous war heroes like John Paul Jones, who sang stupid things like "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead." But everyone was excited. And then came a very, very embarrassing moment. The band played the Star Spangled Banner, and in the middle of the song, Jimmy went completely off his rocker. He ordered the band off the field. And while they were still playing, he clenched his fist, he yelled out across the sideline, "Hey Robinson, you belong to me. I'm your daddy, Robinson. Look at your daddy when he speaks to you. Because I'm going to punish you." And finally the game started. And 3 minutes later, we carried Jimmy off the field unconscious. And I knelt down beside him. I got down on one knee. We administered smelling salt. Oh, he was a mess. He was bleeding at the mouth, at the nose. And I said, "Jimmy, are you all right?" And he looked up at me and he said, "Coach," with a great Irish sense of humor, he said, "Coach, I'm a little wounded. But I am not slain. I shall lay down and bleed a while. Then I'll rise and get the hell out of here." If the loyal people would bear with me, I know I'm never going to get this opportunity again. I just feel obligated. You know, sometimes in life we don't tell the people who we like, who we respect, who we love, how much they mean to us. And as a head coach, sometimes we never tell our assistant coaches, give them the credit that they rightfully deserve. And that was a mistake I made, that when I really cared about a person, I really never said anything. And I just have to mention a few names. But first I want to mention two Loyola names. I'm going to mention Joe Brune. I just have tremendous respect for Joe Brune as a coach. And for John Stewart, Joe was fortunate. I was fortunate to have a John Stewart, because John Stewart, if he was so inclined, could be a coach in high school, in college, or even the professional level. And I wanted you both to know how much I respected you as coaches. I'd like to mention in Calvert Hall, Frank Clary, who is a friend, and Frank as board of the board of directors for 25 years, and in charge of the finance committee for 25 years, figuring out how to spend money and how not to spend it. And I know a lot of people realize that if it weren't for Frank, there might not be a Calvert Hall. He really looked after Calvert Hall, no question about it. And sometimes he has that sense of humor that's a little, almost on the sarcastic side, but always an element of truth in it. But if you were down, Frank would always encourage you. And if you were up here and getting a little egotistical, he'd bring you down. And he meant a lot to me. I mentioned, I don't want to go on and on, I know you want to get out of here, but I wanted to mention people like Jack Murtaugh, people who gave their time, Coach for nothing, Lou Heydrich and Ken Steiner, Coach for nothing, up in the freshman program, Bobby Kropfelder, is he here? Kropfelder helped me in basketball for I guess 4 years. Michael Gallagher, who taught my son always told me what a great math teacher Mike Gallagher was, and to be exposed to this man's intelligence and honesty and goodness. And Brother Andrew, of course. Well, Dave Parr said it all about Brother Andrew. But I had to tell you this about Brother Andrew. I arrived in town a couple days ago and spotted him and Frank Clary, and went into the office, and he was sick, which was mentally sharp. He's mentally sharp, restricted his speech a little bit, and he says very good mainly when you say something, because it's easy for him to say. And I said, "Brother, how are you?" He said, "Very good." I said, "It's great to see you." He said, "Very good." I said, "I'm here with my 3 sons." He said, "Very good." So I thought I'd say something bad to get him to say something else. I said, "I left my wife home. She's getting old. I came here with my girlfriend." He said, "Very good." I said, "But my girlfriend's a prostitute." He said, "Very good." I said, "Brother, she's dying to meet you." He said, "Very, very good." I wanted to thank Mark Trotter, who worked with the varsity for 2 years with no pay, and Lou Symmetries. And the men who were important parts of the program, George Kropp. George Kropp coached freshman ball for 4 years, and did an amazing job because they had 150 people to try out for football in shorts, and he had to cut the squad. And George did not make, if he made any mistakes, I don't know about it. It was unbelievable. He gave me a list of 8 or 9 players who he said would make it, and they were only 14 years old at the time, and he was always right. I called him the George Young of freshman football. I came to believe that he got that from his experience in swimming, in teaching swimming. Because to be a great swimmer, you have to be a great athlete, and you have to have the heart. And he could evaluate talent and heart. And I want to thank George. And Spence King, where's Spence? I can't think of any, Spence headed the junior varsity program for 3 years, and I can't think of anyone better to work with young kids. And you people that played under Spence King, you know that. You know that. My oldest son Joe played lacrosse and a little football, and he played for Spencer King lacrosse. And when he'd come home, all he did was quote Spence King. Mr. King said this, and Mr. King said that. And I wanted to thank Spencer for his loyalty, his friendship, and the good work he did. Dave Shannon, I don't know if Dave got here, but Dave has to be the most underestimated assistant coach in the country. And you people were coached by Dave Shannon. You came to appreciate him. He's the only guy I know, I hope the administrators are listening now, he's the only guy I know that could teach 5 classes every day and give it everything he had on a football field. I couldn't do it. It was tough. So my teaching suffered. Okay? I'm trying to get you guys a lighter schedule. I have, of course, last but not least, is Augie Maselli. Augie Maselli, when you talk about Augie Maselli, you are talking about an organizational genius. And when I asked Augie to help me the last 2 years as assistant coach, I had to keep him happy. Now, Augie's not easy to keep happy. Ask Angel, his wife, about that. Augie can be a tough customer. So I thought, how do I keep him happy? Simple. Let him coach. You're in charge of the defense. Here's the whistle. Stay out of it. And I stood out of it. And I never second-guessed him. He organized the practices. He took over the defense. And if you check the Calvert Hall record, you'll find, I don't know, in the 2 years Augie was defensive coach, I think the teams averaged maybe 5 to 6 points against us in the 2 years. And I wanted to thank him from the bottom of my heart. I never told him how much I respected him, and I wanted to say it publicly. All right, and I am going to wind it up saying this. You know, we talk about academic excellence, okay? And that both schools, teachers there, the faculty, students should be proud that you attended Calvert Hall or Loyola, because you are talking about academic excellence. But the football program is part of it. It's part of it. The lessons you learn on the football field, the way these men coached it, and they coached it properly, are as valuable as any lessons you'll learn in an academic setting. Now, I would challenge anyone to a debate. You could be a combination of Cicero, Demosthenes, and John F. Kennedy, and I'd beat you in a debate every single time. No one could tell me that there's a history class where you can learn to get up when you get knocked down. What mathematics class could you learn to develop loyalty? What language class could you learn unselfishness? And what calculus class? Could you develop a bonding in a love, which you saw, shut me off, between kingdoms? Lessons you learn on a football field will hold you in good stead the rest of your life, because sometimes you're going to have to, in life, you're going to have to lay down and bleed a while. And sometimes you have to bleed for a long time, but I guarantee you this, the lessons you learned on the field of friendly strife, that you'll rise and you'll fight again. Thank you very much.
We have the two fellows who put this together, and they deserve all the credit in the world. Tom Bateman from Calvert, Dennis from Durango, and Roy O'Hare.
We're going to get out of here now, but here's the trophy from the Alumni Association of Loyola High, alumni of Loyola.
They got caught. They needed help spelling LHS, so they called the principal. He pointed it out to me, taken care of. The same principal who told me he doesn't think Loyola has a shot this year. He says all the quarterback does is read Playboys and National Geographic. Apparently he likes to look at pictures of places he's never going to see. Cross-country squad, Jonathan, Dietrich, where are you? JD, Dietrich, easy. Got Dietrich? Yeah! Where's the other Montgomery? Number 70, Dan Ford. Number 71, O.T. Warren. Number 73, Jim Gonzalez. Number 74, Joe McCann. Number 75, Number 76, James Page. Number 77, Mike Zio. Number 78, Jason Beck. Number 79, Peter Hall Williams. Number 8, James Collins. Number 84, Sam Custo. Number 85, Seamus Moran. Number 86, Bill Gray. Number 87, Nick Betts. And roll up for kicking duties. Number 69, Roy Reynolds. And now the captains. Captains, number 24, Ryan Hartley. compact disc player. Mike Schlutner in 5C. Mike Schlutner. All right, Michael. Michael, get that compact disc player. Now, you guys, want to show you your trophy tomorrow. This is a new tradition at Calvert Hall. Loyola challenged us. They insulted us. They think that they're going to take this trophy. They asked to start this trophy. Whoever wins this game gets to keep this trophy. Now, you wanted to know yesterday? You wanted to know what the definition of a Don was. And I didn't tell you on the film, because I wanted to make you hear. The dictionary says, Merriam-Webster dictionary says a Don means... All right, guys, definition of a Don means to put on, to clothe, to envelop oneself, as in to put on a dress. That went to Calvert Hall. You're here because of tradition. This is tradition. Something you don't know. 1/3 of your male faculty here are Calvert Hall graduates. Mr. Stemler, Mr. Symmetries, Mr. Hooper, Mr. Kern, Mr. Fitzmars, Brother Tom, Brother Floyd, Mr. Healy, Mr. Alatucci, Mr. Cleary, Mr. Troni, Mr. Baker, Mr. Bender, Mr. Mojashek, Mr. Motzi, Mr. Murtaugh, Ms. Totzi, myself, 18 of us. And why? Because we love this place like you love this place, and they're going to win this game. Pep rallies. 2 cheers. 2 cheers. I'm going to teach them to you. So you can restart this tradition. It's 2 bits and Gazakawa. Mr. Freitag knows Gazakawa, but I'm going to teach it to you first. I'm going to teach you 2 bits. And you'll use this in the game. This group over here, when I point to you, you yell 2 bits. This group, you yell 4 bits. This group, you yell 6 bits. We'll try that first. Ready? 2 bits. This group over here, you repeat after me. You listen first. Gazakawa, 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 C. Chick, chick, hurrah. You think you can remember that?
to do, and make sure you cheer as hard as you can for us tomorrow.
Easy. All right, Coach, thanks a lot. All right, fellas, that ends it. Outside, we got, I'll write it down list. We got Three Dogs, we got Gyromania. Oh, yes, Gyromania.
Hey, Mr. Brandell. Yeah. How are those hot dogs coming? About 5 minutes.